Greetings, friends of the apocalypse. This is Podcast at Ground Zero, your home for the apocalypse, for episode number 64, Night of the Comet. I am the apocalypse nerd, and for the moment, you do not see Atom Bomb Glancy. This intro is a little bit different than previous ones because I've kind of had to re-edit this one, even though the one's been out there for a while. Scott was in town previously. When we recorded this back in May, and we recorded on my computer, and we had a problem, and the mic was out until minute 3 and 24 seconds. So 3 minutes and 24 seconds into the video, we had no sound. So I posted that on the YouTube channel, and I made a note. So there's like the video with no sound, and I thought it was kind of dumb. So I'm coming back 6 months later. And I've done a little re-editing just to do this little introduction. So, and I'll be dropping that in there. So, you're going to abruptly hear, after I finish talking, just me and Scott talking. Okay? You see us on the video just talking. And if you're listening to the audio version of this, it's just going to drop right into the episode 3 minutes and 24 seconds in. So, that's all I wanted to say, folks, to give you a little bit of a heads up. And I also wanted to reduce the dead air on the video on the YouTube channel, and I have to repost it. And you won't know they reposted until you see this. And if you're listening to the audio, I didn't want you to have all that dead space. So anyway, that's it, folks. We're going to be jumping into the show right now. And again, it's going to be jumping in progress at 3 minutes and 24 seconds. Thank you. Hope you enjoy. So what really attracts me about it is that I saw that besides having, player versus player, team play, and solo play,
there are a lot of solos out there walking the wastes, and this way they get to play the game and do not have to match schedules and match babysitting times and get the wife and kids out of the house. They can just boom throw down with the mutants right there. That's very cool.
Oh,
it's picking you up.
Oh, okay. Is it picking me up?
Yeah.
I think I was a little too far, but we're experimenting with a mic with the two people.
Yeah, I've never done this before, so good luck.
Yeah, I'm hoping it sounded good when I did it myself when we did cross continent. So I just don't know how it sounds. I probably should have recorded us, beforehand. I should have tested it on the computer to record to see how does it sound.
Like many apocalypses, this comes from not testing it first.
Yes,
going straight to the deployment phase. Once again, we have failed to close our vents.
Yes, but that's how we operate here at Ground Zero. It's just
flying by the seat of your vents.
Head first, just drive forward. So it's Fallout. What's the damn thing called? It's called Fallout. I've forgotten already. Wasteland Warfare. So again, it looks pretty exciting. Also, trying to think what else I got in the news. You'll guys see I posted a book that one of our friends of the apocalypse turned me on to, which was Stephen Smith, Guns Along the Wabash River, which is it's in Indiana.
Mm-hmm.
So, book was written by T.J. McFadden, who apparently worked on, I think it was Bullets and Bluegrass, which was a Murrow Project adventure. So apparently this guy wrote a book which is basically just cribbing Murrow Project. It is. I read the sample. It is total Murrow Project.
The Prometheus Project,
but the Murrow Project.
Yeah.
So and it's 99 cents on Kindle. So it's something worth checking out. And then I also posted about there's a Kickstarter called Maximum Apocalypse. It's a card and tile game, which again has solo and multiplayer game. I think it's like cards and your characters, and you have tiles and you're moving around and having encounters. Again, it has solo play, and it has nuclear, alien, zombie, and they're having a whole bunch of other apocalypses. It looks like it could be an interesting Kickstarter. So they're very active in it. So that was just the things that I've seen recently for the apocalypse. So have you seen anything of late?
No, I was struck star-eyed by Wasteland Warfare. If they start showing me any Enclave miniatures available as part of that, I'm going to end up living in a cardboard box surrounded by Enclave miniatures, so that's going to work out.
Well, at least you'll have good company.
I will have a well-protected box with my army of power armor.
Well, they did show the guy in power armor. Now, what I was reading, I was following some stuff on some of the threads. Like, I don't know if it was on the Kickstarter or it was on their page. It had because people are asking about, are you going to have to assemble them at all, or are you going to have to paint the, is there going to be assembly? And from what I read, that they said, like, I think with the first wave that is going to come out, they're going to be molded, and you're not really going to have any assembly for the most part. They said there may be a couple that might have some minor.
Well, it depends how they're doing their. Now these are resin or plastic miniatures. These are not
resin.
Resin.
I think they're plastic,
but they're not metal. So
no.
That means a different kind of mold, which means that there's going to be less assembly because that plastic's going to be a little bit softer. A lot of metal stuff has to be assembled because that's just the way the metal will not put up with a really complicated mold. So, and who knows if they're 3D printing them, then they can make very complicated poses and very complicated miniatures.
Yeah, well, I'm sure they're gonna be injected mold. I think they said they were resin or plastic. I can't remember what they said, but they've been talking about it on their Facebook page.
Yeah.
So I think it says they said the most part, again, they're going to be one solid piece, some minor. They never show that.
I just want to point out this is a Nuka-Cola bottle top opener.
That's sitting on the filing cabinet in the
magnetically
office.
Attached to the filing cabinet.
Well, you never know when you need to pop open a Nuka-Cola.
A refreshing.
A refreshing Nuka-Cola Quantum, because you need that extra energy,
Filled with extra energy and radium. It's good for you.
It is. So that's good that but they said it might be minor assembly, probably just like, maybe some, if it's more complicated, but the less assembly, the better. But again, it's moving forward. I think it's not, I'm hoping that they're going to have some stuff at Gen Con to show us, because they're there.
If they want to sprinkle that stuff around, it would be good for them to sprinkle that stuff around just to seed the audience a little bit, if they can't show the entire game. That's a good plan.
Well, I was hoping that they would have it at Gen Con so I could bring it home with me, but it's probably also better that it doesn't, because then it's like, okay, here's all my Gen Con money. It's gone. It's gone, McCready. So, yes, that's exciting, and I just keep on waiting to see more. I want to see that. So.
They have an enormous quantity of what's what I'm looking for. They've got so many characters that they've digitally created during the game, and the games plural, that they just have no end of miniature characters that they could crack out. I mean, the thing shows about a dozen or so individual sculpts, but good Lord, that's a line that could have literally hundreds of sculpts, much like 40K.
Oh yeah, right now they're showing, an Enclave soldier. It looks like just some other.
I would call that a Brotherhood of Steel paladin.
Brotherhood of Steel, Turret, the
Enclave Eyebot,
a Nuka-Cola machine, the Deathclaw, a couple of mutants, mutant dog. They're showing dog meat and a vault dweller, and yeah. And apparently there's going to be other terrain things they're going to come out with. So who knows? I mean, it's going to be pretty exciting. Yeah. So.
Yeah, well, I'll have to add that to the pile of other miniatures I haven't quite gotten around to painting yet. But
I'm glad that doesn't, they're going to put them together that doesn't need painting, because I don't paint. I just want to play. And a lot of people, like, oh, it's going to be able to be painted. It's like, I don't have the time, energy, or skill to do that. Mainly the skill, and the time, and the energy. So all three of them, I think, are like number one. So, I think I might be able to. I don't even know if I might be able to crack out some. Old miniatures that I tried painting, back when I was like 14, with one of those D&D, Grenadier box sets.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like I think I had the very one of the very first ones they put out was like the Adventure Party. It had like the wizard on the front with his hand up, and he had like the little thing, the little like charms in his hand.
I remember that. And you got about 20 miniatures in there, maybe 4 rows of 5.
Yeah,
maybe 15, something like that. And
didn't it come with paint too? Because it was kind of like a starter kit, I think.
I remember it being having the styrofoam cutout. I do not remember the paint. I know there was no paint with the Call of Cthulhu miniatures from Ratham. Not Ratham, is that right? Ralpartha.
Ralpartha.
Those were Ralpartha miniatures, like that fellow over there.
This was a Grenadier.
Oh, you're right. It was Grenadier.
The Demigorgon, because the Italian company that bought all the Grenadier molds, the original molds from the 70s and 80s, they've been holding on to them. When Stranger Things came out, they said, hey, maybe we should start producing this one because it'll be popular. And they did, but they missed the boat. They didn't print them in enough quantities, only available through like their Italian website. Some people bought them. I guess maybe they didn't distribute it retail very well. So
was there an English version of the website, or did you have to navigate in Italian?
It was all Italian, but then I found people like who were selling them on eBay for reasonable prices because I figured, hey, this is what they're selling it for. Here's a conversion rate. Okay, theirs are just maybe a buck or two more than I have to deal with conversion rate. I just bought it off of eBay because I bought one for myself and our. We have a young cousin. Well, it's my wife's cousin. You know, he's like he turned 11 last month. 11, get it? And so for his birthday, I got him. You know, because he liked Stranger Things. I got him also a.
Did he?
I got him a Demi.
He could connect to Stranger Things at age 11.
He liked it.
All right.
He liked it, so I got him the Demigorgon.
I have this image of like an 11-year-old going, why don't they just get on their cell phones? This is the dumbest thing I've ever seen.
No, he thought it was cool, so I got him that. I got him the miniature and I explained, because he likes learning things. So I explained to him like what Grenadier was and why the miniature and stuff like that. So I'm also going to try to maybe not this summer, maybe next summer when he's a little bit older. I'm going to try to see if I could maybe see if he gets maybe a couple of his friends, see if I could Dungeon Master some D&D.
Run the red box. Run the original red box.
I don't have mine anymore, but I could get a copy of it. Yeah, definitely the basics is a good way to start them off. Yeah. I'm sure people are like, well, just do 5th edition. It's like, it's way too fucking complicated for a fucking 11-year-old nowadays.
I didn't start on 5th edition. I started on the original red box and worked my way up.
I started with the basic, okay, and I turned out just fine.
So,
Night of the Comet. So that's all our news. So, okay, 1984.
1984, the year I graduated from high school.
Let's see that was a little bit later than that. Let's see what's on the box here. It says, they came, they shopped, they saved the world. I don't remember that being the original tagline.
No, I think they may have added that. Yeah, I saw that in the theaters when it came out.
So did I.
And was absolutely thrilled with it at the time. And it, after viewing it 35 years later, it held up to me. It held up really well. It's a great B movie.
Yep, it definitely still holds up. It's the premise of it is there's this comet that is returning, passing by Earth. Because it was 3 years before Halley's Comet.
Oh yeah, that was one of the deals is that they were taking advantage of.
No, 2 years. Oh, good. No, Halley's Comet was 86, right?
I think so.
It wasn't 87. Was it 87? No, it was 86.
If only we had devices for which we could check these facts.
It was 86.
Keep going though.
So it was 1986. So it was 2 years before that. So they, that was coming up. So it was very topical. So the premise is this comet, which they've never known existed before, is coming by the Earth, and last time it came by Earth was 65 million years ago, when supposedly the dinosaurs had a great extinction. What are they setting up there? So. The premise is this comet is coming by. So, okay, so for the movie from 1984, guys, spoiler alert. So if you haven't seen the movie, we're going to, we're not going to reveal everything, but we're going to talk a lot about it.
Oh, yeah. You're going to hear about what we liked. What we'd like you to do is go rent it or watch it on Netflix or something. Just go watch it. It should be in your canon of apocalyptic films.
If you claim to be a true friend of the apocalypse, this is one of those movies, along with Cyborg, with Jean-Claude Van Damme. But hey, that's a guilty pleasure. I like that movie. But
I suppose this one is too. But
I think this one's less of a guilty pleasure because it's got a couple of really cool things about it. So the comet's coming. Everybody's celebrating. It's right around the holidays. It starts off, it's
a little triffity at the beginning. Everyone's happy about the comet that's coming, so everyone wants to run outside and see it.
Oh, Yeah, you're right.
You know, same thing. There's the Triffids had the same shtick. Run outside and see the doom.
And boy, did everybody see it. Well, they didn't go blind or anything, but the two main protagonists in this film are two high school aged girls. So, which I think were probably a lot. I think
the Belmont sisters, Regina and Samantha, played by the awesome Catherine Mary Stewart, who those of you might remember her bouncing around in the 80s and things like Last Starfighter.
Yep.
That's what everyone remembers her in. And Kelly Maroney plays the younger sister, Samantha. Didn't see her in nearly as much stuff. Mary Stewart got a lot more
Scream Queen type of stuff.
Yeah, a lot more time in more legitimate stuff. And Maroney turned up in Scream Queen things in the 80s and the 90s.
And I don't think Catherine wasn't probably teenage when she did Night of the Comet.
No,
you know?
She was probably in her 20s when she does this. Maroney comes off like she's of age.
Yeah.
You know?
But Catherine seems like, yeah, you know, okay, I'll suspend disbelief and give you senior year graduating that year.
Perhaps she was held back a year.
Or two.
Or
maybe 3. But she was definitely of legal drinking age back then before they changed laws, so 18. So,
So, yeah, the two sisters are our main protagonists, and they're just California Valley girls.
Yeah, essentially. One works in a movie theater, one, is a cheerleader.
And we start off thinking that they have no skills, which is kind of cool. This film sort of sets it up where they're just these superficial girls who apparently have no skills. That we're going to be disabused of that notion before the movie's over with.
Yeah, little by little, more and more gets revealed. Because they start dropping some hints that, like, her dad's in the military and, he's away. And, the evil stepmom is there controlling them. So... this is all this because basically they start right out of the gate. It's the night of the comet coming, and boom, there's no.
It's arriving in minutes.
Yeah,
a
couple hours, maybe. Well, no, it's maybe within an hour or something like that. So they don't have this big long buildup. So one is at home, one is at work, works at a movie theater. Things happen. Again, classic '80s movies. She's like. Obsessed with video games. Like,
oh my god!
Yeah,
just to show us how 80s it is, there's a bunch of video games in the movie theater. She's playing Galaga.
No, there was.
What is she playing?
There was Tempest.
There
was Tempest, and then later on there was 2 more games that weren't there previously. So a little film mess up there. But there was Asteroids and Asteroid Deluxe on either side. All I might say they were all vector graphics games.
Yeah, all quarter driven.
Vector,
like God intended.
Exactly, because it was just lines, so it was all vector. So, and there was a lot of classic movie posters in the theater.
Well, that was one of the best things. Is we're sitting there and like, there's a movie poster for
Escape from New York,
Battle
for the Planet of the Apes,
What was the one? On the way out the door, there was Red Dust, the Western.
Yes,
which is going to become important. And Death Race 2000, which is also a shout out to other cast members.
Yep.
And then there was this one poster that Mish McIntyre, if you're watching this, she'll give me a hard time about this, but it was a poster for that crazy film made by the Mystic Knights of Oingo Boingo.
Yes, with Hervé Villechaize in it.
Yeah, which is this crazy cabaret sort of filmed stage thing. It's very Rocky Horror Picture Show. Like it came out of the same kind of production, and it's all about going into the Hollow Earth. It's a bizarre little cult film. But yeah, those were all the films that were hanging up in the theater. At least all the ones we could identify.
Well, the Mystic Knights of the Oingo Boingo started off in the mid '70s as basically performance art. Anyway.
Yeah.
Which then became Oingo Boingo eventually. They were also on the
and became Danny Elfman.
Well, he was he originally wasn't in the band.
It's his brother. It's his brother who did Mystic Knights, but Elfman's trajectory is because he had contact with his brother. His brother was a musician.
And they were also on the Gong Show too.
Oh, I never saw the episode.
And they won. They got like $200. So
even in 1970, that is a kick in the balls. That is that is nothing. Oh my God, they got $200.
Yeah. So, so they want anyway. So there's all these cool movie posters. So basically, the plot starts. She's like staying there because she's got something going on with a projectionist, and he's a shady guy selling films and stuff like that. So she's in the film
projection booth, which is an old fireproof projection booth because of the film stock used to be flammable. So it's surrounded by iron with these iron shutters to make sure that if there was a fire in the booth, it could smother the fire. So she's encased in steel. Steel, which becomes a plot point.
And then her sister just disappeared because they got into a fight. So fast forward, next day happens. They're still there. They start to discover things. Well, at least to me, Catherine's character discovers things have gone awry. Like the guy goes outside, he's looking for somebody. She goes outside, and they start dropping all these little. This is also when she goes outside and she sees the red mist poster, and she goes outside, and there's red dust and clothes everywhere.
Yeah, just piles of clothes and red dust. And one other thing, I got to throw this out about
Dealy Bobs.
About the there's the
Dealy Bobs.
Yeah, there's the Dealy Bobs with these stupid Comet things that they're selling to celebrate, which are these antennas with little balls on it with a streamer on it, so that they're like, you're wearing comets on your head to celebrate Comet Night. And sure enough, there are little things of those
Dealy Bobs everywhere.
Just laying in piles of dust all over Los Angeles. But that boyfriend who goes outside to check, goes outside and disappears. That actor is a guy named, Michael Bowen. And I knew I recognized him when I'm watching the thing. I'd looked it up. Any fans of Breaking Bad out there? Michael Bowen, 35 years later, is playing the character of Uncle Jack on Breaking Bad, the head neo-Nazi that steals all of Walter White's money, spoilers, and, kidnaps Jesse and is like the sort of ultimate villain at the boss fight, I guess you'd call it, at the end of the series. But yeah, that's Uncle Jack. He is still around. He was in things like what's the Tarantino film?
Way of the Gun.
Not The Way of the Gun. The one with the bride. The one with Uma Thurman murdering her. Kill Bill 1 and 2.
Okay.
Yeah, he was the horrible nurse who's selling time with the coma patients to dirt bags on the side, and has the giant car that says Pussy Mobile on the side. Yeah, he specializes in playing dirt bags, and apparently that goes all the way back to 1984 because he was playing a dirt bag sort of in this movie too.
Yeah. Oh, and leading up to the comet coming, there was swirling clouds and lightning and all kinds of weird wind blowing and stuff like that. So you're like, oh, something's happening.
Because comets make wind.
They do. So, she goes outside, sees all this stuff, gets attacked by looks like some kind of scabby,
mutant.
Some kind of scabby-eyed, guy, cannibal-looking guy who's eating somebody,
the boyfriend.
But so it just builds up with that. She goes home, finds her sister.
We get the Omega Man montage as she drives around Los Angeles,
the empty city,
on the empty city where they filmed it all at 5:00 in the morning in LA, so it would look empty. And it's just nothing but piles of clothes blowing in the wind on the sides of the road.
And there's still red in the air because there's a lot of wind blowing up dust. And they use, like you said, some kind of gel filter on it. But it didn't look for cheap effects for a low budget film. Looked pretty decent. For 1984. Again, you got to put a lot of these things in the context of what the time period.
The idea that that this filters on the movie, so every time they're outdoors, it's just a little bit reddish or a little bit orange, was kind of creepy because it means you're fucking inhaling all these fucking powderized. The entire population of the Earth apparently has been reduced to what my wife calls Batman villain powder, because in the Batman movie, there's this gun that turned everybody into powder. In the Adam West Batman movie.
Oh, okay.
There's this thing where
I don't remember that.
There was a gun that turned people into this powder that looked like, it was the stuff that would come out of the candy stick and you'd shake it out and, eat it.
Oh, with pixie sticks?
Yeah, it looked like the stuff that came out of a pixie stick.
Or the dipping thing.
Pixie sticks. Like the pixie. And so The world has been reduced.
Remember those? They're like in the packets, and it would have like the multi flavors. Like, it was like dip in something, and they had like the candy stick, and
yep. Well, this
sugar,
is like
sugar. No wonder why we all got diabetes. You know?
This is more like the pixie stick. The entire world population has been turned into orange pixie stick material, and now it's blowing around in the air so you can breathe your relatives and friends into your lungs.
But
yummy.
But it's a good effect. So
it looks good.
So they're, so they get back, finds the sister. She's all ready to go to cheerleader practice and can't get a hold of anybody. And then, we have the whole scene of her trying to, my reality or your reality, trying to get her on board that something's gone awry.
It's in the 80s, so it's like, pull the phone off the wall with the giant cord on it, Nobody reaches for their non-existent cell phone. It's just, try and call someone. Go ahead.
And she was carrying around a boombox with her.
Oh my God! The sister's carrying on a boombox that is the size of a piece of Samsonite luggage. That is the
good times. I wish I still had my old boombox. I had a small one that I used to carry around. We used to hang out at the mall, listening to Dead Kennedys and Ramones and annoying the Straits. So.
Yeah, it's there's some technological throwbacks in this film, that's for sure. But they hear the radio still playing.
Yep.
The radio. And so
they figure, let's go to the radio station.
And there they find out, of course, it's just the radio station, just automatic playing.
So they found the radio station, but they also run into Chakotay.
That's true. They run into Robert Beltran.
Yes.
From
Voyager.
From Eating Raoul and Voyager and other kinds of things like that. And he's yet another survivor, and God, is he so fucking young. It's just unbelievable.
I know.
Yeah. But they run into him as another survivor. And, this film, when it came out, what I always remember about it is that Roger Ebert saw it when it came out, and Roger Ebert loved it because the world ended, and the people who survived are not really qualified for this work.
Yeah.
They're just
which is what's going to really happen.
Yeah. It's just these schmoes, who survived. And there's nothing special, nothing necessarily special about them. What was special is that they survived, and through no fault or preparation of their own. Total luck.
Total luck. Like with him too, he was in the back of his truck. Now, during this time, we saw a couple of flashes to some kind of nefarious secret government base.
Listening to the radio station. They would do like this shot of like a guard standing in like a glass tower, and it'll be overlooking like this compound in a cave, and all the roofs were like open so you could see the top of the cave.
Yeah.
That was a cool effect. That was I think that was just a model with a perspective shot where they shot the camera through the model down to the
but there was movement down.
Well, those people were real. It would be the model around the outside of the camera, and you'd shoot through it. You'd cut out this area where you could see that those walls, those office walls that they put up like on a warehouse floor.
Yeah. And
you could sort of look down into it and see the underground base. So, nefarious underground base filled with jumpsuited people.
Gray jumpsuits and white web belts.
Yeah.
White. Like they were like some kind of honor MP guard or something,
Did you say that you'd seen at least one person wearing that at a con?
Once. I seen a picture of somebody that, because as we know, I don't care for dress up or
cosplay.
Ugh, I hate that it's been justified.
I understand you don't like that. I don't like steampunk. We all have our malfunctions.
Oh, I don't like steampunk either. Well, but
you're a man of wealth and taste.
Yeah, well, like what is the Ken height or relay is? It's Ken.
Ken's line was steampunk is what happens when goths discover the color brown.
Yeah. But it's a whole thing now, but what are you going to do? But
that obscure costume, making a costume that out of the way,
was thinking. I'll give people credit for that. The people who are like, look, I'm a sexy Spider-Man woman with big boobs. It's like, okay, whatever. You just want to show off your assets and have people take pictures of you.
You show up,
great, that's your thing. Whatever.
You show up as Mary Warnes, as one of the guys from one of the scientists from the base. Thumbs up.
Yeah, because they had it with gray, the patch, because the symbol for the base was like, it looked like this, like a maze.
Yeah, it was a maze inside a circle, and it was very distinctive.
Yeah.
And they put it on everything. It's on the helicopter. It's on the cars that show up later. It's on the.
Well, we had to know that this belongs to the nefarious base.
Yes. So that's how they stamp those guys out. But we know that this is a nefarious base, and there's two groups of people in the base. One of them is Mary Warnes, who was in Death Race 2000, playing Calamity Jane, one of the racers. And she was also in Eating Raoul with Beltran. And Joffrey Lewis, who is Juliette Lewis's dad. And Joffrey Lewis has been in everything, like High Plains Drifter.
70s, 80s, everything, He was one of Clint Eastwood's regular guys that he would hire for movies. He was his brother in Every Which Way But Loose. He was the brother in Every Which Way But Loose. He was the bad guy in High Plains Drifter. He's still working, every once in a while. But he was a total character actor, 70s and 80s. You've totally seen him 1,000 movies. So so you have these kind of two factions in there, and they did a good job of not letting you know who's who. Yeah. Who's got the right agenda, who's got the wrong agenda. Yeah. They did a good job. Great writing. They cut it well. It doesn't feel. There's one time you can hear them talk. You can't hear them talking by the helicopter, where you suppose that's the moment where the real, agenda would be revealed. But because the blades are going, you can't yell it. But when they're in the offices or in the labs talking, they did this great job of making you think that Joffrey Lewis wants to gather all the survivors. We've got to go get survivors. Well, and maybe Mary Warnes has a different idea about what to do with the survivors. So, but you don't really know. They definitely play them off each other very well. They kind of, and they also kind of hide what their agendas are too. So you don't really know who's who. So they did a pretty good job with that. So they're in the radio station. They get a call. Like the girl gets a call from the people at the base saying, "Hey, where are you at? We're going to come find you." And then they're like, "Oh, okay." And just, we'll wait for you. But Chakotay wants to go find his family. Yep. Well, I keep calling him Chakotay. Yeah. Yeah. What the heck was his character's name? It wasn't Chakotay. Nate, Matt, what the hell's his name? I don't remember. Hector. Hector, thank you. Hector. Because for some reason, Catherine Mary Stewart kept saying his name in the most racist way possible. She kept on like Hector or whatever. So I don't know why that kept happening. It was the 80s. I guess we were allowed to be more obviously racist than that. What more so than we can now? No, that's good too. We have had sort of an okay. We've had the okay. We've had the red flag. It's okay. You could be a total asshole now. But at the same time, he never just put up with it. He always just gave her some shit right back, and she'd sort of mouth off to him. So he has to bail out and he says, "I'll be back in however many days it takes to get back from San Diego." So the girls just left cooling their heels and decide, to go to do what everyone does after the apocalypse. Shopping. Well, but before that, the sister's having some problems, and there's a couple cool, there's some interesting nightmare sequences for her, She does seem to have this rash, and she's thirsty all the time. I wonder what that could mean. So, but before they go shopping, they go to the National Guard Armory. Like good girls that go to the National Guard Armory. Yeah, because their father was like a Green Beret, and he taught them this and that. And you find out that the reason that she knows how to punch a guy using the bottom of the palm of her hand earlier is because Daddy thought that if he trained them hard enough, his girls would be able to be Rangers. Yeah, and so there's this thing where they have some competency. They know how to use a gun. They know how to use weapons. Now they go to the National Guard Armory. Okay, here's the thing that kills me. Now, mind you, back in the 80s, I loved that weapon. But they go to a National Guard Armory, which you figure a National Guard Armory will probably have standard issue weapons, M16s or even M1s, older weapons, military issue type weapons. They come back with a couple of MAC 10s. Yeah. Why did the National Guard Army only have MAC 10s? I don't know. Mind you, I liked it back then because, I think my first, I want to say my first exposure to MAC 10 was Escape from New York with Snake Plissken, or it could have been, I don't remember which came out first. High Risk. High Risk was a 70s movie, right? Late 70s?
It's mid to late. If only the device could tell us when. But yeah, the first time I saw him was. Oh, you know what else? The first time I remember seeing the Mac-10 was there was a John Wayne movie where he plays a detective where he ends up using a Mac-10, if you can believe that nonsense. Yeah, High Risk was like, I think it's the 80s.
Okay,
because I remember seeing it on HBO.
All right, so maybe I saw it with Snake Plissken first. This is a scene where like the guy's in like an old DC-10 and they're trying to get away. The pilot opens the window and he's holding a Mac-10 out the freaking window, you know. So
1981.
Oh, so I did. So that probably that came around. That's the same time that
almost identical to Snake Plissken.
Snake Plissken. So anyway, so love the Mac-10. You know, I even saw like there's a cover.
Exact same year.
There's a cover I have of.
There will be a pause for technical difficulties.
Oh, there's a pause because Jared's looking for something.
Oh! That is a hell of a binder you've got there.
Look, my American survival guides from the 80s. I told you I was into.
Have you not showed this to the audience yet? This is kind of awesome.
What?
The American Survivor or Survival Guide?
I have binders full of American Survival Guide, stuff from like the early to mid 80s. Well, actually, it's in the late 80s. But
one of the covers has the Mac-10 in it.
No, there's an issue of Special Weapons.
All right,
go up here. Yeah, this show's even more unorthodox than we normally are, folks. But
there's movement, there's action, there's props.
There's the cover of Fall of 1984. Special Weapons. There's a dude with two Mac-10s with suppressors on the front. All that did was fuel my love of the Mac-10 back then.
He's firing one in each hand like he's Clint Eastwood in Where Eagles Dare.
Yeah. So, yeah, and also this binder, there's lots of old issues of American Survival.
That is some gun porn.
Yeah.
That is some gun porn.
I don't know why I put them in binders, because I had all these empty binders, and I'm like, well, I'm just put them in binders instead of magazine boxes. So anyway.
I prefer the binders. That's cooler. I'm happier. So they go get the Mac-10s, which in the early 80s was definitely a gun that us nerds liked. We liked the Mac-10. Again, it was good for Snake Plissken.
It's good. If it's good enough for Snake Plissken, damn, it's good enough for me.
Yeah.
Because even to where the point of I used to play again, Fantasy Games Unlimited, Merc.
Yeah.
Role playing game. My characters always had Mac-10s.
You could tell that the guys who wrote the rules for Twilight 2000 did not care for the Mac-10 as much as Snake Plissken, because if you took that weapon, it's going to be really cool, I'm having a Mac-10, you were effectively useless. You could not affect the outcome of any gamed firefight in the game.
Well, it's a close combat thing anyway.
Yeah.
But yeah, I have my friend used to draw pictures. The guy I used to play with, and he had pictures of my characters with like the Mac-10. The character's name, because I was so creative with my names back then. It was Raymond Wild Wallace.
Raymond Wallace. All right.
Raymond. Well, because Ray's my middle name. So. Again, I was never really good at names in role-playing games, so I was Raymond Wild Wallace, and, it was adventures in, communist Burma, and it was like, with his Mac-10 in the swamps, Can
I just point out when it comes to names, that's not that bad a name. I'm just remembering when we were playing Mask of Nyarlathotep, and after we're on like 9th or 10th character, we gave up on names because it just kept killing us. So there were names like Bumfuck McJesus. We just surrendered completely as far as the idea of, oh yeah, this character is going to last 15 minutes. Why don't I just name him Replacement Meat?
What's your character's name? Character number 9.
We're down to numbers. Welcome to the village. So anyways, the girls get Mac-10s.
The girls get Mac-10s. They're firing them. And if you said you read that apparently part of that scene was improv.
Yeah, there's a thing according to IMDb's trivia section. They're saying that the line that comes out, the classic line of the scene, came out because the director told the actresses, we don't have a lot of money for reshoots. So the trick is, if anything goes wrong, stay in character until I actually say cut. Do not stop acting, because we don't know. Whatever, if there's a technical malfunction, we'll work around it. Just keep acting. Right.
So she's firing this gun. They're like firing at like this old Cadillac. That's like way too far away that I don't even think they really would even be able to hit it at that range. Because they didn't even have a suppressor on it, which at least gave it a little bit of barrel to keep it down because there's such a high cycle rate. But
you can see it's all that barrel shoots straight up in the air.
So she keeps on having gun jams with it, which were not uncommon for a gun that had like a 1,000+ cycle or 1,200 cycle rate.
Plus, she's firing it with blanks.
Yeah,
which is always going to have less kick, and so she's having to manually clear that jam towards the end of the magazine.
And then finally she's done with it, and then she gives it back to her sister and says the classic line. One of two classic lines in this movie is, "Daddy would have gotten us Uzis."
And that was Kelly Maroney from who plays the younger sister. And I got to tell you, yeah, everybody remembered that. That was one of those things that everyone was like, "Daddy would have gotten us Uzis." It's up there with "It's Gone, McCready."
Yeah, Daddy would have got us Uzis. So you have this whole scene just to show them firing weapons. So they get to the mall. There's a whole 80s montage of them shopping and playing music and dancing.
Oh, that was the other hilarious thing, is there's music in the mall.
Oh, we'll get to that.
All right.
So, but they're dancing around, playing music. While this is going on, we see stuff from the Shadow Organization. They're going to go out there and get them and send out helicopters. Hector is trying to gather up what he's trying to gather up in San Diego. He has
pictures, family heirlooms, things like that.
So he has his shit going on, has his encounters. So they're flying out there, the helicopters in the meantime. So they get to the mall, and they're shopping. It was more of the department store. So they're shopping, wearing clothes.
Good point.
It was just they're in the department store. I don't know. They could have went to the whole mall, but but then you go back to, you start seeing, oh, look, there's like security cameras, and there's somebody watching them on the security cameras. Earrings and the sunglasses, very kind of.
Oh, they're all dressed up like they're supposed to be punk rock or something.
Like punk rocker types, or new wave.
What Hollywood thinks punk rock looks like.
Exactly. What they say is punk rock. So they're all like these punk rock dudes, and then they start speaking to them through the PA system, and then all kinds of hilarity ensues, like gunfights, and they're following around trying to get a hold of them. And during this whole time, during the montage, during the fight, you hear there's a soundtrack going on, like a lot of times there are in movies. We get to the conclusion of what's going on, and then like the one bad guy's like, "You shut that off," and like shoots the radio they had playing with the shotgun. So the music wasn't coming from the movie background. It was actually, they're actually playing it in the department store.
It was actually part of the scene, which I really like, because there's this music that was actually there to build tension. But when they want to get to this really intense part, they want it quiet, and they shut off the music by shooting the boombox, which I thought completely worked as a transition.
Because I had forgotten, and I'm like, oh, they actually was playing on the radio. I was like, that's very clever,
Which introduces us to our other favorite character, Willie. Willie, who's the leader of this gang of
punk rock stock boys
who now own the whole department store. Moving up in the world, the actor who does Willie fucking chews up the furniture, chews up the walls. He overacts to the nines, but it is all exactly right. He is so good, and sadly does not do a lot of other stuff. His you look at his list of credits on IMDb, did some monster movies and stuff, but that performance playing Willie is absolutely terrifying. And it's kind of funny at first, and then it gets utterly fucked up, where it's really actually scary.
And he runs around in a robe. He's like he has like a bathrobe over everything.
Yeah, like it's Hugh Hefner.
And it says Willie on it. So I don't know where he got that from. I didn't know they had that in the store.
Right off the rack, Willie.
So they they capture them. There's all kinds of dialogue, and there's this whole dialogue that goes on that I used to have memorized down pat.
Willie's rant.
He has this rant. He does this monologue that's so good. Back then, I had that memorized, and I could drop it completely accurate to the letter.
Yeah,
but not anymore. But
as far as great villain speeches goes, this is right up there with Lord Humongous suggesting that you just walk away. I mean, it was the writing on that was really good.
we're not gonna give you the speech. We want to save that because that's one that needs to be saved. But it's a good speech. That's the second. It's not a line. It's like a bunch of lines. But the two lines in the movie are "Daddy would have gotten his Uzis," which is pretty. But this whole dialogue is brilliant.
However, what's the last line before we cut? Let's play a game, girls. A game called Scary Noises. They need to know what's scary. We're not going to say what the scary noises are, but oh my God, it's the scary noise. They deliver on that. I think, what's scary noises? Yeah.
But and he has a continuing monologue with the whole thing, so it's pretty good. So something's shit's going on.
Definitely see it just for Willie. Just fast forward to Willie, and you'll get your money's worth.
The organization. Backtrack a little bit. You see a couple points in the with the organization that they have. They're picking up other survivors. Like they have children. They have some children come back. There's other people there already, so they're gathering up survivors. So they come to try to they rescue the girls, and they take the older sister, whatever her name was, Regina, back to the place because they know that Hector's coming back. And they want every survivor. And
they're a little concerned about Samantha's itchy rash and the fact that she's thirsty all the time.
So, they leave her behind, and, a couple, people stay behind to stay with her and wait for Hector. So some stuff happens with them to where the point is Hector comes back and, finds the sister. Samantha. We just watched this movie and I don't remember their names. Don't remember. So they are, apparently one of the other characters gives a big reveal of what's going on at the nefarious place. Yeah. So Hector and Samantha.
It's more nefarious than I think I would have imagined.
Yes.
As far as how bad is it at Nefarious Underground Base, it's super fucking nefarious.
Yeah, it's pretty dirty.
Yeah,
so
it's really dirty. And what I love about it, it's not only dirty, it's kind of useless.
And they're very casual. Some of the people are very casual about it. They're like, okay, this is what we got to do.
Yeah.
So Hector and Samantha go to see about saving the sister because she's back there. She's getting a lot of questions. She's finding out more and more about what's going on, and she will have nothing to do with it. So she fights back. Hector, they get there. They break in. They rescue her. Rescue some of the other people.
Yeah.
I'm gonna spare some of the details of what's going on, but just overview. But they have some scenes. There's a couple cool little things in there. Like what they do
in the gunfight. There's some cool fight shootout stuff. Escape from the base thing. There's a great moment where people go to see Santa.
Yes.
There's a lovely part where people go to see Santa. Yeah. Yeah. It's and again, this was the low budget shows, but at the same time, they did some great things to really minimize the impact of the budget. One of my favorites is when they're leaving the base earlier, and it's all dark, and it's all dark lighting, and it's underground. They're in elevators and stuff. There's a moment where Joffrey Lewis and Mary Warnoff exit the elevator, step out into this sort of hangar that's that the elevator has emerged into, and then open this big door, and then it goes from being dark, small to this open the door and giant lights, sunlight, helicopter, lots of loud noise. They do these things that really give you a feeling that you're emerging from this tight, claustrophobic underground place. It's just a matter of perspective and sets, and they just, these guys really worked with their zero budget. And again, that's something that always looks good, is when you see people squeezing that last dime to do good effects, practical effects, in-camera effects. That always looks extremely good. I mean, everybody gets shot with a squib. There's no CGI blood in this.
Well, it didn't exist back then. Yeah, but so
there's no other. Yeah, they did a really good job with again, I love a squib effect. I'm sort of sad to see them go as an effect. Even though, yes, I know they're dangerous and whatever, but they always looked.
but they look good, you know. So yeah, so they do a lot with, like you said, with the effects and the contrasts.
There's some good mutant effects, good mutant makeup,
good mutant effects. You find out about what you'll find out like what the organization is, what they're doing there. What may have gone wrong.
Yeah. Yes.
Or like why it went wrong. So, they give it's some of the, like, one of their excuse for why things went south is kind of lame.
It doesn't quite work.
It doesn't go along with the not mythology, but the
they set up like why people get affected by the comet and why people don't. And this doesn't quite track as well as I'd like it to, but that's okay. You blow past it because you're having fun.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't make sense because blah blah blah. It's like
it doesn't reveal that steel is the protective thing.
Yeah, we talked about that, and then they explain something else about what happened, which doesn't go along. It's like, well, if you had steel, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
but again, we glaze like, okay, whatever. We're having a good time.
Shoot right past it. It's cool.
Yeah. So they have their big scene. They get back to the scene. They got to worry about rebuilding civilization. The rains come, wash the stuff away.
Yeah. Once the rain hits, they remove the filter as it's washed all the people out of the atmosphere and down the drains. Which I don't know, I was a little uncomfortable by an image of all these people being washed into the sewer.
Now, here's me and Scott talked about that when we were watching the movie. Here's my one big thing. Okay. So it seems like a vast majority of the people did not survive. You had some that were unaffected, but then you had some that were kind of exposed, but will eventually die because that's where you get the mutants from, and then people just totally dust. So, there's probably they probably knew it was coming. You probably had things like Cheyenne Mountain. Some people say, but overall, it seems like the vast majority of people did not survive. Now,
this is the time when you're glad that you were deployed at sea on a submarine.
Yeah. So there are people survived. Now, this apparently is what wiped out the dinosaurs because, okay, well, they didn't know to hide in steel caves. So,
yeah.
And it probably
funny how the dinosaurs left bones behind.
Yeah. So that made no sense. But maybe dinosaur bones are made of different.
Oh, the dinosaur bones are from earlier dinosaurs who died normally. But when the comet came by, it turned everybody into Batman powder.
Yeah, so everything got turned into Batman powder.
Pixie stick powder.
Everybody got turned into pixie sticks. But, that means everything that's on the surface, like every mammal and bee and this and that. So,
oh, yeah, when they showed the empty dog collar, we're like, oh, it got animals. Does that mean it wiped out cockroaches and bees and...
So this happened 65 million years ago. How did the world exist then? Because...
you don't want to examine our character's future too closely if there's no bees to pollinate plants.
Oh yeah, because it's like I don't know how we got back after 65 million years. Did things in the water survive?
Re-evolve from the water up.
I don't know. Did mammals survive? Well, no, mammals got killed. So again, we didn't think too scientifically. Like, oh yeah, it killed this, but then it would have killed everything, so we wouldn't have got past that. There would be no modern world. You can't ask
for too much from a film whose original working title was what? Teenage Mutant Comet Zombies or Teenage Mutant Comet Zombies or something like that.
So yeah, so we were thinking too much of like, oh, if it killed everything, how did we get past the 65 million year mark?
We should really just relax for mysteries. Yeah,
but now it's like, okay, great. So it killed everything. So all the cows, all the wild animals are dead. Your canned food's only going to work so long. So they didn't address they addressed all the fun parts of the movie, like the survival, this and that. But it's like, how are they going to survive long term if it killed bees for pollination, feed animals, wild animals, fish, maybe, Yeah. So what are they going to survive on? The canned foods are they going to last so long? It's like
not because they're going to run out of canned foods because the population's so small, but because the canned foods are just going to turn on you eventually.
Or maybe Night of the Comet. Or maybe Night of the Comet is the beginning of the road.
It's all funny when it first happens. Next thing you know.
Well, the road, there's no food, nothing grows, there's no animals, and everybody's eating each other.
Yeah.
Because the comet killed everything. I see a connection here. The Night of the Comet and the Road. I think the Night of the Comet is the prequel to the Road.
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Well, I mean, seriously,
makes perfect sense to me.
Does it?
No, but it's still hilarious.
How so?
All right. You've got a point that the road was pretty desolate as far as any kind of wildlife.
No animals.
I didn't even see any
nothing. No crops. Everything's just gone.
Yeah.
You know. Maybe. I'm not saying it was, but it's fun. It's fun to pretend. But
and yet he hates cosplay.
I'm not dressing up like Night of the Comet, but you know what I'm saying. But
I don't know. I'll get you a white belt and a gray jumpsuit. I think you'll go.
Well, maybe that's something different. But
I think you'll go.
Well, what do you mean, man? But I like to because I like to pretend. You're like, hey.
No, I'm not saying that.
I didn't play Dungeons and Dragons for all those years and not learn a little something about courage. Okay.
I'm just saying you could rock a white belt. That's all I'm saying. These be those guys from the base or Herb Tarlick.
Well, it would be a big white belt, but
a big white belt.
But so anyway, so the road. So anyway, there's some long-term questions of survival, but you know what? It's not that type of movie. We weren't really supposed to think about that, but we always go down that road. So unfortunately, that's what we do. But cheesy '80s movie, apocalyptic, classic lines. You know, it's got some pretty good dialogue, some pretty good writing. You know, for the movie, they did well with their budget.
The cast really does okay. The cast turns in good performances all the way around. It's one of the best things I've ever seen Mary Warnoff in, because she was playing a very, very straight role in a comedy, and she didn't seem out of place at all.
Yeah,
you know, and one of the things I remember reading from the IMDb stuff was that Beltran had helped get her this job because the two of them were eating Raoul together. And that he helped land her this gig, and she's one of the best things at it.
Yeah,
she really is.
Does a good job.
There are some interesting characters. You know, she really made a really interesting character and kept you guessing right to the end. You know,
of what her, you know, where were her loyalties?
Yeah.
Where did she side with?
Yeah.
And of course Willie.
Let me see if I can find that guy's name. The actor's name was Ivan E. Roth, and he's been in a few horror movies since then. But good job, Ivan.
Good. Thank you for giving us Willie.
Yes,
free Willie. But so I said, if you haven't seen this movie, I mean, you could. It's probably on Netflix. I don't know, probably because Netflix rotates so much. I think
it does. I know it's been on Netflix because I had it in my favorites, but I believe it rolled out of my favorites.
I got that on Amazon. I got that probably on Amazon like years ago. Let me see. I know it's on. Hold on, I'm gonna look here. Night of the Comet. It's. I know. There's a Blu-ray version of it out now. I'm usually all about getting Blu-rays, but some things it's like, you know what, I just really don't need a Blu-ray of this. It's just not going to make any difference. But they do have, well, you know, you can't get I don't think you get I don't even think you get the DVD anymore. So, but there's like I think who put it out? Probably Scream Factory or somebody like that. You know, who does a lot of these old movies and older horror movies, and they put them out in Blu-ray. The Blu-ray is like $20, you know. The DVD is totally out of print. So, hey, they got the exact DVD that I got on here. Somebody's trying to sell it for $38 on Amazon. So, Blu-ray, it is on Amazon Video. You could probably rent it pretty cheap or buy it pretty cheap. But see if it's on Netflix or something like that. It's probably on YouTube. It's worth watching. I said, if you're a fan of the apocalypse, especially like the '80s, you like this kind of cheesy kind of movies, you know, it wasn't too bad. But
you can see it and they see its influence, the way it was influenced by things like Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead. There's some influence from A Boy and His Dog, sort of, you know, with the underground.
Yeah.
Omega Man. It's got a lot of influence from Omega Man. All those things are factors into it, and it's just a good solid B movie. It's like what Joe Bob Briggs used to call a perfect drive-in movie.
Yep.
The only thing that doesn't make it a perfect drive-in movie is that there are no naked boobies, which if you were Joe Bob Briggs, you would include that in any formula for a perfect drive-in movie. It's like what, PG? Maybe there's some language.
It is. They rate PG-13. I don't know if they did.
That's probably because of language.
Yeah. Did they do PG-13 in '84?
No, this is no.
Yeah, probably because it was reissued later. So
they don't get PG-13 until Temple of Doom.
Yeah, so it's PG. It's a PG movie. So it was not an R. But it's a good film. It's an hour and a half worth your time. So there you go.
There you go. Run out, mutants. Get out there, you teenage mutant comet mutants.
Comet mutants. That's a whole nother movie. Since we reviewed this, we should probably give a full. Well, I know we talked about it before, because in the same vein, in the same era, was another guilty pleasure. We should do a full review of this movie. Did we ever do a full review of DEFCON 4?
I think we did. I think we did, because we went on about the guy in the kilt.
Oh yeah.
Well,
I think we're talking about like favorite movies, and we probably talked about too much. We probably did too much. I'll have to look back in the archives, because we didn't do a full review. We should do a full review of that movie, because that's from that era.
Yeah.
Class. Yeah, we might have talked about that on one of those like top 5 movies or something like that. Classic movie, DEFCON 4. But all right, so next show we'll be back to normal. We'll be in different locations. What we're gonna try to do is, I'm almost done with Shift. Are you almost done with Shift?
Yes.
We're gonna do Shift. Shift was the sequel to Wool, which we did a while back. So Shift, I'm 2/3 of the way through it. It answers some of the questions that I was questioning in the first book, because I thought, like, that's ridiculous. And then they talk about, like, oh, okay, it makes a little more sense now. But Shift, pretty good so far.
Yes, it definitely turned the bleak meter up.
Yeah.
To 11. So it still has this very nasty nihilistic apocalypse.
And so they talk about, why it happened, what's happening. And I think it kind of ends. I think it's going to end where the first book ended. So it's going to kind of bring
catch
up to that point. And then the last book, which is, there's Wool, Shift, and
I don't remember
the name of it. But we'll read that too and review that. But Shift is pretty good. We're going to do that.
This is the first time I've seen a book or a series of books that talked about essentially a managed apocalypse.
Yes. They get more into that. It's good. So that'll be our next one. So I'm going to try to see if we can knock it out the next week or so. So then the next show, we're going to talk about Shift. I want to read Benjamin Wallace, we had on the last show. I picked up his second book.
Good.
I want to read that, because again, they're fun books, folks. The Benjamin Wallace's books, definitely they're not that expensive. They're definitely worth your time. They were fun because takes a tongue in cheek look at all the tropes, so,
and they're quick and easy to digest.
Yeah. So after I finish that, I want to bang out, because I'm doing audio for Shift. Benjamin's, I got the actual book, so I'll read through that. I want to cover that, and then so we'll see what else we could do. Maybe I'll read that. What was it, By the Waters?
Last Babylon?
No, Wabash.
Oh, Guns Along the Wabash.
Wabash. I want to read that. See, maybe we'll talk about that. Yeah, we really should reread The Last Babylon and do that one. Cover that.
Have we done The Last Babylon?
We've talked about it. I don't know if we went into detail on it.
No. It's a good one. It's just it's sort of inside. And the weird thing is, we're sitting here right now. We're right in the middle of where that book was set. Supposedly the town that is Fort, what was it called? Fort something or other?
Fort.
I'll never remember that. But the town that the story is set in here in Central Florida is a stand-in for Mount Dora, which is
not that far from here.
30 miles away. It's really close.
Yeah, because I'm Central Florida on the coast.
Yeah.
You know, I'm near Daytona, so we're kind of totally near where all that stuff happened. So
next time I might be back down here in a couple of months, and I would be amused to try and do some if we went around and
field trip,
did a road trip to hit some of the places mentioned in Alas Babylon.
On the road with Podcast or Ground Zero road trip.
Yeah.
So maybe we'll check that out. So we got a couple of things lined up. You know, we're gonna maybe have to circle back to maybe some other movies. So I think we covered, you know, we did a lot of the broad topics. You know, I don't really think there's, I mean, you know, we did like, you know, types of apocalypses, you know, food, medicine, weapons, transportation. We did early on, we did a lot of the broad topics, and I kind of ran out of ideas for broad topics.
Well, we just have to keep digging into we'll just have to start digging into some more of the individual literature and the individual, you know, genres and movies. I think that's pretty much where we're going right now is dig into both stuff that's a little older, because that was our easy thing, but we're going to have to start reading some of the new stuff just so we can see where the genre is heading.
And there's a lot of stuff out there now. Like, well, that's why I said, you know, the Wool series, the Silo series is fairly recent, you know, within the last few years. So it's a little
pretty innovative. It's not like anything else. It's not your standard, you know, John Thomas Rourke and his twin Deutonics 45 set out to stomp commies in the radioactive wasteland.
Oh, I'd love to like totally talk about that series too, but I have to go back and read all that stuff. Well, you know, the books are only like that thick, you know, but yeah, we'll come back. We'll come back to games too. Like I'd like to, you know, do some more talk about just a different game, RPGs, computer games, paper pencil. You know, I said after the second episode, whenever we did Gamma World, I said I want to circle back to Gamma World. I want to circle back to Gamma World. I haven't done that yet, but I want to circle back to it and just to talk about it, because we only talked about, you know, even the guy slammed us for being divisive and, you know,
complaining about edition
wars, but we kind of talked about it in a broad sense. I'd like to maybe dig deeper into.
I'm all in favor of a dramatic reading from the bestiary in Gamma World for just some of the ludicrous goddamn monsters. There was something where it was like, it's like some animal that they have in their bestiary, some radioactive mutant, and it does all kinds of terrible, horrible things that it's got all these powers. But I remember down deep in the description it says it eats clothing. Do you remember that?
Oh, that was the I think it was like the Yixel or something like that.
Yeah.
It was like YEXL, or it's like Yixel or something like that.
And it's like this dragon.
I always thought it was Jewish. So, you know.
The Yixa.
The Yixa.
And yeah, but at some point it ate clothing. I'm like, what random meter did you generate that idea from? Was there did they just spin a dial or something and it eats clothing? You know?
I don't know. It's definitely like people say it's Wahoo over the top and blah blah blah, but
it's got some,
but it's good, you know. So yeah, maybe I want to circle back and maybe talk about like maybe one specific edition or maybe an adventure. I like, because I want to talk about it some more, because there's so much cool stuff there. Well, except for that 7th edition, which the guy said I never played, so I can't make an opinion about it. But I read the fucking rules, asshole. If you're listening to this show, and it looked stupid, but
wasn't what we were looking for.
Wasn't what we were looking for. You know what? Because I was talking with Jim Wamplier, that's on his Facebook page, and he's a guy who works for he does guys who do Dungeon Crawl Classics, Goodman Games. He's also doing his Mutant Crawl Classics game, which is a throwback to Gamma World. And we were talking about the 7th edition a little bit, you know, and he's like, yeah, it's definitely not a campaign game. And I agree with him. It's not a campaign. The game would have been served better if it was just like a board game or a miniatures game. They gave all this background to try to make it an RPG, but it's like all of 7th edition, which was like, oh, let's go on an adventure. Well, here's your map to put your miniatures on. And then nothing really happens in between unless you make it happen. But the game is focused on a map and miniatures.
Yeah. And
having your encounters. Like anytime I'd see published adventures, here's the map, here's the map, here's the map. So I'm like, well, they should have made it like a tabletops miniatures game, because that's what kind of 7th edition was going for, because they're trying to catch the World of Warcraft. So this Gamma World game, they could have just made it like a board game or a tabletop adventure. Look, randomly generate your heroes, and here's a couple maps.
Yeah, here's your cards for your mutant powers, and
random, just do it, and it's one shot. Make it like a board game, and to that effect, it didn't need to be called Gamma World. It has nothing to do with Gamma World. They just could have called it,
They can still call it I like the idea of cashing in on the Gamma World board game, but as a RPG,
no, yeah. If they would have taken, if they would have taken that approach using that name, it could have worked, but not as an RPG. I'd have had time to think about it. But and like people say, it's like, well, how can you've never played it? How can you judge it? It's like
you can read the rules.
You can read the rules, and you could talk to people who played it and gather their information. It's like, do you not get read reviews and commentary for movies and make judgments about whether you want to see it or not?
Jared, how do you know that orange glowing heating element in the oven is hot? Don't you have to touch it before you know it's hot?
I guess stupid people do.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Or you can take someone's word for it, or you can do your own research and figure out, yeah, don't leave my fingerprints behind on the heating element, so I'm not going to touch it.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to touch Gamma World 7th Edition.
Hey.
Yay.
So anyway, all right, enough of this end of show tangent, but so rarely do we get to sit around and do it together. So, and then next time he comes, we'll do a little road tour, and maybe
that would be cool if we could take some shots of where this. The problem is, it's 1957 versus 2017. That's a lot of time.
Yeah.
Between those two, what was Florida in 57 versus what was Florida? Shoot,
it was a lot more sparse back then too.
I'm gonna bet that. Holy crap! If it's 57, what's going on? Is there? Oh my God! There's not even. Well, I guess there's a Cape Canaveral.
Mm-hmm.
There's Cape Canaveral, but there's not.
This town existed, I believe.
It's not even Gemini,
but
it's not even Mercury program yet. Holy cow! All right.
Except it was called Smyrna. It wasn't New Smyrna Beach yet. Then
No.
I think Daytona's there, but St. Augustine was there.
Yeah,
because you had the college, you had Flagler. He built the tracks.
Orlando is mentioned in the story.
In Orlando,
but instead of Orlando Municipal Airport, it's McCoy SAC base.
Yeah,
there's a SAC base instead of an airport. I'm old enough to remember when the first times you'd go fly out of Orlando, you were in this very strange airport that was leftover Air Force surplus, is what it was. It was just a surplus SAC base that they had put in a few passenger amenities. That's it. Very weird.
Different times. So anyway, so we definitely got some ideas, folks. So we'll try to keep the dry spells a lot shorter than we have been. But we said, Scott's had a lot going on. I had a lot going on. I moved, bought a house, all kinds of crap. So all right, but we're back, and we're gonna shut off now because
now we're just flapping our lips.
We're just flapping our lips, but you love listening to us flap our lips because I can see 3 people are watching live right now.
Oh my God, 3 people?
Well, we had 5 at one point.
Oh. Then we started flapping our lips.
Yeah, somebody probably had to go to the toilet, but so anyway, folks. So that's it. So Night of the Comet, go see it. Worth your time. Pretty good movie. We're gonna come back probably in a week or 2.
Bring you some more apocalypse.
Literary apocalypse with Shift, and then we'll see what happens after that. So keep an eye on the blog. I'm trying to post more stuff that I see interesting come up, and definitely going to keep people apprised of the Wasteland Warfare for sure as we get more information about that. And that's it.
That's all we got today.
All right. So again, I am Jared. He is Scott. Thank you for joining us. We will see you in the Wastelands.